Hey, good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this lecture. This is your lecturer, Darlito Bernard Gidalizo, known as Sir D or Tatay D. Well, this is the first lecture under the subject personal identification. In criminal investigation, the most important thing there is to identify the actual perpetrator. However, in criminal investigation, it is more than establishing the identity of the actual perpetrator. So the first area of criminal investigation is actually identification of persons. As I've said, it is not limited to identifying the actual perpetrator. First thing first, an investigator should try to establish who are the possible suspects. Meaning, when you say possible suspects, these people who could have possibly committed a crime uh, by uh, by means of circumstantial evidence and possible motives or possible opportunity that the person could have committed a crime. Well, of course, further, among the suspects, then the investigator now should be able to establish the identity of the actual perpetrator. And in criminal investigation, it also involves the identity of victims, particularly if the victim is unknown, then identification methods will come in. And of course, in the furtherance of investigation, witnesses are necessary to give account or who can give account on the criminal activity. And more often than not, if there are people around or more often than not, if no one is around already when the investigator arrives at the crime scene, then one of his main tasks is to look for possible witnesses that could more or less help later on in the uh, providing of information that may or that can solve the case later on. And further, identification of persons can also be applied in identifying known criminal or unknown criminals and as well as fugitives of the law. So what is personal identification? So first thing first, when you say personal, we are referring to anything relating to or belonging to an individual. Say for example, your personal belongings, your personal effects, your earrings, your ornaments, okay, your behavioral traits, the way you walk, the way you talk, okay, the way you smile, the way you laugh. So those are personal. Anything that could distinguish you from the others or anything that could be considered as part already of your personality, part of your behavior, or part of your habits, or part of your clothing and other things. Okay? And then on the other hand, identification pertains to the process of recognizing someone or something or the fact of being identified because in personal identification we do not limit only or in the criminal identification sometimes we do not limit only on the identity of a person but also the identity of a thing or a material. But of course in this subject matter we will be dealing more on how we establish or how we could establish the identity of a person. So identification here involves the process of recognizing someone or something or the fact of being identified, meaning he is that person is established as the same person being identified or being looked upon by the investigator. So therefore, personal identification could be defined as the determination of the individuality of a person, meaning they are now trying to find out what are the things that could individualize a person from others. Just like as I've said, the physical characteristics or behavioral characteristics or personality characteristics of that person. And personal identification could also be referring to the act or the process of showing to be the same person, meaning the person who is or who was seen at the crime scene is now the same person being or the person arrested by the suspect by establishing now the similarities of whatever personal characteristics, physical characteristics that are located at the crime scene and those taken from the suspect. Okay, so the act now of saying that the person or the suspect is identical with the person who is arrested. So it's a process of showing to be the same. That's why in American lingo, when they say non-identification, it means that it is positively identified. Okay, it is identical. So when they say non-identification, meaning they are saying that the two items or the two persons being identified are not the same people. So with that, personal identification can also be understood as the determination or establishment as a particular person or thing. Okay, and finally, personal identification can be defined as the ascertaining the nature or supposed identity of a person or something. So the nature or the supposed identity. Okay, so based on the appearance of the crime scene, based on the injuries of the victim, what could be the nature of the suspect? Is the suspect could be a well-known personality like that? Is the suspect a professional killer like that, or an amateur killer? So parang ganito yan, no? Kapag yung crime scene ay malinis at walang masyadong tinatawag natin evidence na makuha coming from the suspect, then we can say that the suspect could be a professional theft or professional robber. Okay, so based on the identity or based on the injuries sustained by the victim, okay, pag napakarami niyang saksak at very brutal yung kanyang saksak, then more or less we can say that the nature of the suspect or the perpetrator could be that person could be a drug addict or a drug-crazed person or a person suffering from violent insanity or a person na merong sobrang galit doon sa victim. So, what is the importance? Why we need to establish the identity of a person? Well, first thing first, when we speak of criminal investigation, basically, prosecution will follow. And it is not possible to prosecute a person who is not identified. And you might be saying me, sir, paano yung mga jando? No? Yung mga jando identification or yung mga jando prosecution or jowando prosecutions, normally, nangyayari yan if somebody, okay, have actually witnessed the commission of the crime, and according to that person, he can identify that person if ever he will be able to see that person once again. So, in those cases, the officer may file for a case, or the case may be prosecuted, uh, although the actual name of the person is unknown, but the identity could be established positively later on. Okay, so that is one of the requirements, that in prosecution cases, the suspect or the accused or the respondent is properly identified. Now, the second one could be settlement of estates, retirement, and insurance. So, in this, if you are a Filipino citizen or a citizen of any country for that matter, no, once na ikaw ay pinanganak sa isang lugar, it goes with you the right as a citizen or the rights as a citizen of the country. At the same time, what are your obligations as a citizen of that country? Okay, so for example, uh, if you are identified as the biological child of a certain couple, basically, the properties of the couple should be given to you if you are the sole, we call it, ikaw yung tagapagmana na ma-establish ng korte. Okay? So, even in retirement, kailangan na-identify nila yung tao. Ikaw ba talaga yung nagre-retire? Ikaw ba talaga yung naka-insured na tao? So, importante yon. Kahit yung nag-order ka sa mga transactions natin, no? In some transactions in number 4, now, if you buy in Shopee or in Lazada or whatever online shopping, well, they need to establish your identity, that you are actually the same person who is ordering, or the same person who owns a valid government license, or who owns a valid mobile number. Okay? Importante yon na tinatawag natin ma-establish yung identity. And of course, say if you would like to or if somebody died, no, may namatay tapos nandun siya sa morgue, at kailangan ma-establish yung identity ng tao bago nila i-release yun na siya talaga yung tao na hinahanap nyo na kamag-anak. Okay? And of course, number 3, Say for example, during calamity at dumaan ng napakalakas na bagyo, baha, and everything, no, maraming nawalan tao, habang hindi na-identify yung mga victims, okay, hindi na-recover mga yan, hindi matatanggal yung anxiety or yung takot ng mga kamag-anak. Okay, kapag na-identify na doon sa mga na-recover na bangkay ay wala doon ang kamag-anak, so matatanggal yung anxiety na hindi kasama doon sa mga biktima yung kanyang kamag-anak na namatay doon sa landslide or sa calamity na yan. Okay? But of course, on the other hand, kapag na-identify yung tao na namatay belonging to the relative of that person, more or less, it can also, it can still resolve anxiety kasi at least alam na nila na talagang patay na nga yung tao. No? So marami na ang personal identity ay kailangan ma-establish. Okay? Maraming transaction yan. For example, dito sa classroom na lang, kailangan ma-establish mo na yung estudyante na nag-aaral ay siya talaga yung estudyante. Hindi baka merong ibang tao na nag-aaral para sa kanya. Okay? So, personal identity is very important also. So, for example, you would like to enter a establishment, you would like to enter a property, at kailangan ma-establish yung identity. Kaya nakalagay, no ID, no entry. So, does it mean na pag wala kang ID card ay wala kang ID? So, pwede rin yun. But in some instances, pag ibig sabihin ng no ID, no entry, kapag hindi ka na-identify, na ikaw ay authorized na pumasok sa lugar na yan, hindi ka papasukin. But of course, the primary proof that you are the same person authorized to enter the vicinity is your identification card. But as I've said, when you say no ID, no entry, it doesn't necessarily mean na yung ID card ang kailangan. May mga instances na kapag positively identified, kahit wala siyang identification card, ay pwede nang papasukin yung tao, and that is depending on the discretion or in the policy of that establishment. Okay? So let's move on. What are the rules of, we call it personal identification? What are the rules in personal identification applied, okay, to the establishment of the personality or the identity of a person? Well, first thing first, we have what we call the law of multiplicity of evidence. The second one, you have the value of different points of identification and the time interval between the death of the person and the recovery of the dead person in case of identification of dead bodies. And basically, in personal identification, there is no rigid rule on that. Okay, so let's take a look on what is the law of multiplicity of evidence. The law of multiplicity of evidence, it says there that the greater the number of similarities or dissimilarities, the greater is the probability for the conclusion to be correct. So what is the meaning of that? Okay, so if you have letter A or a letter A is missing, reported missing, and eventually they recovered or they discovered a lifeless body in along the highway, and then they are now going to get the ante-mortem file, meaning the files of the missing A when he was still alive, and as well as to compare that now with the post-mortem files na nakuha dun sa na-recover na katawan ng tao. So titignan nila na kapag mas marami yung characteristics na tumutugma between the missing person and the recovered dead body, well, the greater the probability na iisa si missing na tao at saka yung na-recover na tao. On the other hand, kapag mas kokonti or mas marami yung mga differences ng tawag natin, kino-compare na dalawang person or dalawang item, then the greater the probability that they are different people or different things. What about the value of different points of identification? In criminal investigation, in criminal court, they are going to give more weight on those permanent and individual, okay, and scientifically proven points of identification as a basis of establishing the identity of a person. Say for example, okay, yung fingerprint, the value of fingerprint is greater than the moles, no? Yung mga nunal natin. So So sinabi mo na siya yung suspect kasi may nunal sa may pisngi. Well, the problem, mas mababa yung value ng mga nunal because marami ang magkakaparehas ang nunal. On the other hand, fingerprints ay mas mataas ang value because it can lead to positive identification because of the scientifically proven that there are no two persons having the same fingers, having the same fingerprints for that matter. Okay? And it was already established that fingerprints are permanent. On the other hand, ang mga moles are pwedeng matanggal or pwedeng madagdagan. So, kapag pinagbabasihan mo yung identification ay yung lamang mga nunal ng tao, ay hindi siya masyadong valuable unless of course it cannot be that particular mole could not be negated by other evidence. So, yung fingerprint. Now, on the other hand, kapag yung sa fingerprint naman over DNA, well, kapag na-decompose na yung tao, practically, yung DNA ang mas mataas ang value over than the fingerprint. Okay, say based visual recognition of relative. So, kinilala ng mga kamag-anak yung tao. Well, lesser ang value niyan sa mga dental identification or sa mga fingerprint identification or sa mga DNA identification. So, pag nanonood kayo ng mga news, no, sa Jessica Kapuso, no, makita nyo doon, may mga pinapakita doon na may mga taong grasa, taong palaboy-laboy, and then marami nagkiklaim na siya yung aming kapatid, siya yung aming uncle, siya yung aming tatay. Okay, so yung visual description ng mga kamag-anak, hindi siya absolute na magsasabi na siya nga yung hinanap nila kamag-anak. So, ang pinakamataas doon ay yung fingerprint or yung dental identification or other permanent markings on the part of the person na walang katulad. So, what else? The third one is the time interval between death. So, practically, if the time of death is greater than the time of discovery of the dead bodies, then the more the need for experts in establishing the identity. Why? Because pwedeng mawala na yung mga tawag natin mga external or external mark of the person. So, for example, the fingerprint. Pag na-decompose na yan, hindi na yan applicable. Okay, so papasok na yan yung odontology or papasok na dyan yung anthropologist or papasok na dyan ang DNA. So, the more na mas matagal yung pagkamatay ng tao, the greater the possibility na mawawala na yung mga external body characteristics or body marks that could lead to identity of the person. So, the greater now or the greater the need for experts in establishing the identity. And of course, when we speak of time interval, we can say also the time of interval of the actual witnessing of the crime. So for example, nakita niya yung criminal act kaninang umaga lang at ngayon mo interview yung eyewitness, well, mataas yung value. Pero yung isang witness, sabi niya, nakita ko last week yung crime as compared sa nakita lang niya or na-interview mo yung tao right after the commission of the crime, then the lesser the time elapsed between the commission of the crime and the interview of the eyewitness, well, it would be greater in value yung kanyang or mas credible yung kanyang sinasabi. Rather or other than or we call it than those sa mga nakakita nung crime na mas matagal yung time elapsed between the interview and the commission of the crime. Then number 4, there are no rigid rule. Why no rigid rule? Because as we have said, kapag buhay pa yung tao, maraming mga possibilities na pwede mo siyang ma-identify. Okay, marami siyang physical features, meron siyang mga behavioral characteristics, personality characteristics that could establish the identity of the person. So there is no rigid rule. Okay? But of course, you may apply ordinary method or you may apply scientific method. And in the ordinary method, you do not necessarily establish all the other physical characteristics. Okay? Few characteristics may be enough already to establish the identity of the person. And same thing with, we call it scientific method of identification. So you do not say that the method should always be fingerprinting. But what if there are no fingerprints of a person? Tinanggal yung mga daliri ng paa at kamay. So can you still apply the fingerprint there? Of course, no. So there is no rigid rule. So the rule there is whatever characteristics that are present, whatever individual characteristics that are present to establish the identity of the person can already be sufficient to determine who that person is. Now, what about the methods of identification? Well, we have the two general methods, what we call the comparison and by exclusion. Okay, sometimes we call the exclusion as the elimination. So by comparison, just simply compare those recorded personal characteristic of the person when he was still alive and the record of the recovered body based from the post-mortem examination. So they just compare it. Okay, compare it, and again apply the law of multiplicity of evidence. But in so far as fingerprint is concerned, you just compare it and look for the identical characteristics of the ridges to establish now the positive identity of the latent impressions taken from the crime scene and the fingerprint taken from the arrested suspect. On the other hand, by exclusion, so saan ito applicable? Applicable when you are identifying more than one person or thing. Okay, so for example, tatlong tao yung nawawala at may na-recover na bangkay na dalawa doon sa crime scene or doon sa fight scene. So, establish nila. Pag na-establish yung identity ng dalawa, therefore, yung isa na hindi pa na-identify o hindi pa nahanap or yung burned beyond recognition, that belongs now to letter C. So, because it is eliminated na or excluded na. Dahil na-establish na yung identity ng dalawa, it will follow that the third person whose body is beyond or burned beyond recognition, then it is already safe to say siya si letter C kung si letter C ang di pa identify. Okay, what about when an unknown body is found? Okay, so the following should be noted by the investigator to facilitate identification. Okay, so whether that is the body of the victim or the body of the suspect. Okay, so take note of the place where the body is found. Again, obviously, the body where the place where the body was found, there may be eyewitnesses that could give testimony or account as to who could have possibly leave the victim in that place or the body in that place. Or of course, the place where the body was found can be part of the crime scene. Then what was the time when found? Anong oras ba yan? Kagabi pa ba yan? Or kanina umaga? Because there are changes occurring in the body of the person right after death that could facilitate in the establishment of the identity or may affect the establishment of the identity of a dead person. Then the possible cause of death of a person. Okay, so say for example, nilaslas yung kanyang leeg ng very precise, we call it very precise sharp-edged instrument na para siyang blade or para siyang razor. So maaaring sabihin mo na yung identity ng suspect ay malamang nagtatrabaho sa barbershop. No? Pwedeng ganon. Okay? Then the time when death occurred. So the possible time of the death of the person by estimating on the changes occurring on the body of the person right after death. So yung mga changes na yon makapagbibigay ng approximate time kung anong oras namatay ito na kahapon or nakarang araw. And then more or less kapag nag-backtrack ng investigation, yung mga investigators ay they can possibly look for possible witnesses that could possibly give accounts on any person that could be responsible on the death of that person. Again, the approximate age of the person may also be part of the establishment of the identity as well as the establishment on who could have possibly killed the person. And supposed profession based on the occupational mark and based on the stature of the person, based on the social stature of the person. Makikita doon kung ito ay mukhang military, mukhang police, or mukhang sanggano, maaring siya ay criminal, no? Okay? Maaring makikita doon sa itsura niya, maaring ito ay medical worker. Then, of course, the description of the body as to the height, as to the weights, as to the other markings, as to the state of the body, whether it's already in the state of decomposition or hindi pa nag-start yung decomposition. Then, what about in the identification of those dead bodies? No? You can apply ordinary methods that may include the personal effects of the person. Pag sinabing personal effects, ano yung mga damit niya, nasuot niya, underwear, or yung kanya mga t-shirt, or mga pants, or meron ba siyang mga relo, or mga quintas, okay, personal effects, or meron siyang cellphone, or meron siyang identification card. So those are the personal effects of the person. And then, of course, the physical description. So approximately 5'5" to 5'7", approximately 20 to 25 years of age, okay? And then, of course, whether male or female, okay? Then, of course, you can do that also by portrait par, okay? In which they're going now to describe, or witnesses will describe the possible identity of that recovered dead body. So, when identifying a person, whether alive or dead, then there are intrinsic factors that can be considered in the establishment of the identity of a person. As we mentioned, ornamentation. Yung mga arte sa kanyang mukha, sa kanyang mga katawan, like earrings, like necklaces, and other things na maaring makapag-establish sa identity ng taong yan, no? Na yun ang kanyang mga pang-design sa kanyang buhok, sa kanyang mukha, or sa kanyang katawan. Then other personal belongings, which I have already discussed a while ago. The wearing apparel of the person that may show what kind of profession that person has when he was still alive. Then are there any foreign bodies on the body of the person? What are those things? Mga dust, mga grasa, mga oil, or whatever, or anything that could identify yung pinagmulan niya, mga industries na pinanggalingan, okay? Mga pintura sa katawan, so whatever, more or less, those things may lead to identity of that person later on. Then, finally, the close friends. No? Are there any close friends of that person? That's why in the police investigation, they report it as a missing person. Then later on, if a dead body is discovered or recovered, okay, then the relatives or friends may make now a we call it a close identification of the person, whether what they were looking or what they are looking is the same person whose body is recovered somewhere else. Okay, and of course, police records and photographs can also be used, or even photographed in Facebook and other social media. What about the ordinary methods of identification? What are these things? Aside from the ornamentations that I have mentioned a while ago. Well, kapag patay yung tao or buhay yung tao, pwedeng you can identify him based on his occupational mark. Lalo kapag yan ay tinatawag natin na nagtatrabaho, mga hard work na ngayon, pwedeng sa construction or pwedeng sa mga industries or factories na kung saan pwedeng mag-cause ng mga permanent mark sa kanyang katawan, sa kanyang kamay, okay, sa kanyang leeg or sa kanyang shoulder. Those things can be used also to corroborate other points of identification of that dead person or the suspect who ran away from the crime scene. Then of course the race, yung lahi ng taong yan. Sa mga Malay, basically, most Malay like Malaysian and Filipinos and Indonesians, they are brown, flat nose, round face, and round head, and normally wearing apparel. Okay, so we have different races in the world. We have the Caucasian, you have the Anglo-Saxon, you have the Celtic. Okay, you have the Afghan, you have the Japanese, you have the Malay, you have the Japanese, you have the Chinese, the Koreans. More or less, meron silang mga distinct characteristics as sa mga itsura ng mukha, sa complexion ng kanilang skin, sa kanilang wearing apparel, no, sa kulay ng hair, ng skin, Okay, those things may be used to identify kung ano kayang lahi nung na-recover na bangkay na ito or yung suspect na nakita na bumaril sa biktima. Then, stature of the person. Okay, when we say physical stature, we are referring to kanyang natural height, whether tall, short, or medium height. When we speak of social stature, then we might be saying on the possible profession or social status of the person. Pwedeng sabihin natin na mukhang mayaman, mukhang mahirap, mukhang estudyante, mukhang call center agent, mukhang professional, mukhang doktor, mukhang police. Okay, those are the social stature. But when you say physical stature, well, we are referring to the natural heights of people. So, mayroong pwedeng magamit yan to identify, we call it a recovered dead body or even those suspects who ran away from the crime scene. Then another one is by identifying the tips of middle fingers of both hands extended laterally. So, minsan, pwedeng ma-identify yung tao dahil may mga tao na maigsi yung kanilang middle finger, may mga tao naman na masyadong mahaba yung middle finger as compared to the rest of the fingers. Kapag na-record yan or kapag familiar yung tao sa kanyang sa mga yung sizes ng kanilang fingers, then malamang pwede rin ang gamitin later on as a way of establishing the identity of a person, whether dead or alive. Then tattoo marks. Okay, so anong klaseng tattoo? Very amateur ba yung pagkatato? Very professional or mga cosmetic tattoo lang yan? Nagpatato siya ng kilay kasi pinagkakamaran siyang bakla dahil nagtatanggal siya ng kilay. Kaya ginawa niya, nagpatato ng kilay. Di ba? Okay, or medical tattoo or mga traumatic tattoo, meaning ito yung mga dahil sa mga violent acts against that person, karoon siya ng kumbaga natural tattoo sa kanyang katawan. Okay, so yan ba yung mga tattoo as a sign of belonging to an organization, just like a fraternity or a gang, okay, or a tattoo belonging to a tribe or whatever, or a tattoo because a sign of being an ex-con. Okay, so those things can be used as we call it points of identity in describing a person or in trying to establish the identity of a person, particularly those prominent tattoo marks. Of course, the weight of the person, although it's not a good point because it may change from time to time. So pwedeng sabihin na heavy built yung katawan ng tao, pwedeng medium built yung katawan ng tao, pwedeng malit siya, more or less ganito kabigat yung katawan ng tao, or based on the overall size of the body of the victim. Again, that could not be a good point because it may change from time to time. Kapag nag-diet yung tao, biglang papayat yan. Then deformities and injuries, leaving permanent deformities or markings. Okay? Say for example, dislocated na daliri, dislocated na tuhod, dislocated na paa, at hindi na naibalik. So pwedeng mga yon ay maging point of identification yan. Okay? Ganon din, kung may mga tawag natin, may mga scars yan, na tawag natin ay na-disgrasya sa motor, nagkaroon ng mark sa mukha or sa dibdib or sa tuhod. Okay? Kapag permanent yung markings na naiwan, so it can be used also to identify a person. Then tribal marks and tattoo marks. Okay? There are tribes in Africa and even in Asia na naglalagay ng mga markings sa katawan. Pwedeng pinapaso yung part ng katawan nila or whatever, or meron din yung mga tattoo marks ng tribals just like dito sa Cordillera. So makikita mo whether coming from Bontoc, coming from Kalinga or Ifugao or Benguet or Abra yung tao kasi meron silang mga distinct tribal marks. So minsan yung mga marks na yan ay pinapakita na sila ay tinatawag natin mga person with high social stature in the tribe or in the community. Okay? Then the sexual organs to identify male or female yung tawag natin suspect or biktima. Okay? In this time or in our time, medyo mahirap na ngayon makilala yung babae sa kalalaki kasi may mga babae na mukhang lalaki at may mga lalaki na mukhang babae naman. So kapag patay yung tao, mas madaling makita kasi meron siyang sexual organs kapag patay yung tao. Pero kapag buhay yung tao at akala mo lalaki yung suspect, yung pala babae lang yun, damit babae, or siya ay transgender, or siya ay tawag natin member ng LGBTQ, at siya ay cross-dresser na tao. Dadamit siya ng pandamit babae pero siya ay lalaki, or babae, pandamit lalaki. So sometimes it's difficult, no, na makita whether male or female yung tao. But kapag patay, madaling makita kung yan ay babae or lalaki. Kapag buhay, medyo may mga other behavioral and physical characteristics that may show na yung tao ay babae or lalaki. So for example, ang ganda-ganda nung babae, nakita mo may Adam's apple. So, yun, hindi yun na babae, yun ay lalaki kasi may Adam's apple yun. Okay, so what else? Magamit sa ordinary methods of identification, yung mga birthmark. May mga birthmark, or yung mga pinanganak siya na mayroong mga nunal, or yung mga, may scar, no? Kagaya nung isang picture niyan, accordingly, during the cesarean operation, accidentally, nasugat yung mukha niya ng doktor. So, nag-iwan niya ng birth scar na tinatawag natin. Or kaya, pinorset siya nung pinapanganak, ay sa pag-forceps sa ulo niya, nasugatan yung leeg. So, pwedeng mag-iwan yun ng tinatawag na birth scar. Iba yung birthmark, iba yung birth mole sa tinatawag natin. Then, in case the person is alive, so pwedeng ma-identify siya based on his gait or walking pattern and other behavioral traits. Yung paano siya umupo, paano siya tumayo, paano siya maglakad, okay? Paano siya tumakbo. So, maaring gamitin yon to describe a person or to establish the identity of a person. Okay? Kapag yung mga footprints naman, so maaring makita whether the person was running, was walking, or whether anong klaseng gait walking siya meron. Then, what are the other points of identification that can be applicable both to living and dead before onset of decomposition? Meaning, bago maagnas yung tao. Okay, so pwedeng occupational mark, race, pwedeng stature, yung teeth, yung tattoo marks, yung weight, deformities, birthmarks, injuries, leaving permanent result, moles, scars, tribal marks, sexual organs, blood group identification, okay, hair identification, and fingerprint, and even DNA. Pwedeng gamitin yan both alive and dead identification. So with that, with those, we call it ordinary methods. Ano naman yung mga scientific method, which we have already discussed a while ago, yung fingerprinting, yung odontology, okay, the identity based on the dental structure of a person, the handwriting identification. So for example, you would like to know who wrote that suicide note, or who wrote that threatening letter, or who wrote that demand letter in cases of ransom investigation. Okay, and anthropology, or the Bertillon system, identification based on the size of the skeleton. Then identification by determining what could be the possible age of the person. Okay, based on the changes on the body. Say, for example, yung natagpuang bangkay ay wala pa siyang pubic hair. Kapag ganun wala pa siyang pubic hair, so pwede nilang masabi na hindi pa siya adolescent. No? Okay, mga approximate nila, less than 12, mga less than 13, so depende yan. No? Then, based on the determination of sex. So, for example, paano malalaman kung yan ay tunay na babae o lalaki? Kapag yan ay tunay na babae at naging transgender yan, meron siyang mattress. Kapag yung lalaki, nagtawag natin, nag-transgender siya, na maging babae siya, nagpapalit siya ng sex organ niya, wala siyang mattress. So, ibig sabihin, originally, siya ay male individual. Okay, then identification of blood type, like type A, type B, type AB, type O. Then, of course, identification of blood stains also. Then, to include now identification of hair and fibers and DNA identification, those things, the scientific methods can be used also whether what you're identifying is an alive person or a dead person. Okay, so these are scientific methods because you need the expertise of forensic scientists in applying this type of or these methods of identification. So how we identify now unknown persons, whether the victim, the suspect, or a criminal or the actual perpetrator. Okay, so how do we identify them? Okay. So as we have said, you can identify them based by portrait parle or portrait parle, by the description given by witnesses or by the victim himself or by the criminal himself. Siya magbibigay ng description ng mga ibang tao na nandun noon. Then the portrait parle that we have today, usually the description is drawn by a police cartographer or a police sketcher, together with that verbal description. O pwedeng merong mga identification kit na tinatawag natin na mga bases na pagtugma-tugmahin ni investigator in establishing the identity of the person being identified. And of course, the portrait parle or the portrait parle can also be used by conducting a police lineup based on the description given by the eyewitness. So magpakandak ng police lineup para hanapin doon ni suspect or ni victim yung actual perpetrator. Then the portrait parle today can be used also with what we call the Compio sketch or the computer sketch, in which there are computer programs that can aid investigators to create the likenesses of the suspect based on the data or the images or the graphics that are in the data of the computer, na parang hindi mo na siya do-drawing, pagtagpi-tagpi na lang yung mga different parts of the face of a person to come up with the possible actual appearance of the person. Okay, so now when you are using eyewitnesses in identification, do not believe right away the testimony of the suspect or the description of the suspect or the description made by the victim. Okay, yung kanyang portrait parle, then you have to evaluate that as to the reliability and credibility of your eyewitness. Unang-una, yung kanyang description, matagal na ba na nakita niya yung suspect or kaninang umaga lang niya nakita? Okay, we mentioned that already a while ago. Nung nakita ba niya yung suspect or yung commission ng crime, very clear ba nakitang-kita niya yung actual commission or may mga obstructions ba? Obviously, pag may mga obstructions, then mas less credible yung kanyang testimony as compared doon sa walang obstruction na nakita yung commission ng crime. And then during that time, was the witness preoccupied by some other things or distracted siya ng ibang activity, or wala siyang ginagawa noon kaya nakafocus siya sa kanyang pag-observe sa criminal activity, kaya mas credible yung kanyang description sa suspect. Okay, ano naman yung relationship ng eyewitness doon sa victim or sa suspect? We know na kapag kaibigan yan or kamag-anak, malamang magkakaroon ng bias na description. Okay? Or maaring ilihis niya yung tawag natin, yung description para ibang suspect ang kukunin nila. Or kapag naman yan ay close friend niya or relative niya, ibig sabihin close associate niya, ibig sabihin familiar siya sa appearance, physical appearance, at saka behavioral traits ng ina-identify na tao. Okay? So those are the things na maaaring mag-affect sa reliability ng eyewitness. Then the clearness of sight. Baka naman may problema siya sa mata, color blind siya, hindi niya masyadong nakita, lalo gabi yung pangyayari. Another one is yung available illumination. Daylight ba? Or very dark ba yung gabi? Or nandun pa siya sa lilim ng kahoy or whatever. So those are the things that may affect the reliability of the description that can be made by the witness. So again, in identifying, we consider also light as a factor or illumination as a factor in identification. So clearest moonlight, yung full moon, you can identify a person positively within 16 to 17 meters. And so beyond that ay medyo mas malabo na yung paningin. Kapag starlight naman, ma-identify mo lang yung tao very near lang. di mo siya ma-identify beyond 10 to 13 yards or beyond, we call it 10 feet or yeah, no? Medyo beyond 30 feet, hindi mo na makita yan. Or kapag broad daylight naman, ma-identify mo yan even 100 yards ang layo. Yan. Okay, kung di mo pa nakikita yung tao. Pero kapag almost strangers yung nakita mo, within 25 yards ang reliability ng yung observation sa kanya. Pero pag kilala mo yan, kahit medyo more than 100 yards, dahil kilala mo magsuot, kilala mo maglakad, okay, kilala mo mag-swing yung kanyang, or familiar ka sa kanyang manner of walking, then pwede mo siyang makilala even more than 100 yards at broad daylight. Then the flash of firearm. Okay? So bumaril yung suspect, nailawan yung mukha niya. So at the distance of or the 2 inches letters can be read with the aid of the flash of 22 caliber at a distance of 2 feet. Pag malapit nun. In other words, kahit medyo mas malayo ka ng konti, pag nag-flash yun, makikita mo yung mukha ng suspect or yung firer. And then the flash of lightning. Well, that's already sufficient light to identify a person. Kasi malakas din yung ilaw niyan, minsan parang daylight din yan. Then of course, ano yung nandun elimination? Artificial light ba? So again, the reliability of the description could be depending on the intensity of the light. Kung mas maliwanag yung ilaw, mas credible yung description. Pag mas madilim yung ilaw, mas less credible yung description na mabibigay ng eyewitness. So finally, assuming you have this unknown person, so you have 3 sets of people or you have 3 individuals na most likely na siya yung taong hinahanap. Okay? So anong gagawin? Hahanapin mo lang yung characteristics ng mga taong tatlong yan and then yung characteristic ng suspect na yan. Say fingerprint, kapag fingerprint yung nakuha sa crime scene, then kunin mo yung fingerprint ni suspects 1, 2, 3, then i-compare mo lang. Kapag yung personal apparel niya or yung mga wearing apparel niya, so ganun pa rin, i-compare mo lang. You may apply the law of multiplicity evidence or you may apply the positive identification based from scientific methods of identification. Okay? So there is what you call a question whether si letter A ba itong taong to or si letter B ba itong taong to or si letter C ba itong taong to. Okay? So we are now going to take note of all the ordinary points of identification and of course kung available yung scientific points of identification. So from there, you can now establish whether that person, say for example, itong taong to, doon pa lang sa position ng head niya pag nagpa-photograph siya, and then other physical characteristics of the person, samahan mo pa ng fingerprint, samahan mo pa ng DNA, then you can say that this person is the same as that person. So you have already established the personal identity of the unknown person. Okay? So with that, that ends our topic in personal identification. Thank you for listening. And if you have not subscribed yet my channel, you are invited to subscribe this channel and hit the notification bell and also like this channel. If you have any question or comment, just write it down on the comment section. So once again, thank you for watching and listening. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed night to all.